your last year and a half over this issue. I want to commend that committee and those members for bringing this issue up front and out front to where everybody talks about it openly and bring all sides in. That's never, the marijuana issue has been around for 40 years, and it's only been in the last 18 months that this Board of Supervisors is really, we all kind of joke in the back room about, oh, we got to talk about pot again. It's not, we'd like to get beyond that. But I'd like to commend the Criminal Justice Committee for their work, even though what they've come up with, I seem to be always on the opposite side. But that doesn't mean that, I think it's real important that the discussion has been brought out. And even though it looks like today we're not going to end up with a paper result, but I think we have ended up with a result. I think the discussion has went thorough. We've had attorneys work on all the legal issues in and out of what probably could be done, what can't be done. So I think we have gained a lot out of this process. And so it's not for, I don't want the Criminal Justice Committee to walk away, or the last year's, and say, well, we've done all this work and never come up with no result. Because I really feel we have come up with a big result. And one of the results is we're starting to get some state legislature talk about this issue. Mm-hmm. That's a big step. That's a 30-year step that's been taken. And for that, I want to commend the committee for the work you've done. But I'd also make a motion to throw out these ordinances.
Okay. Before we get to a motion stage, there's been some things brought forward. It's obvious some work could be done. One of the first things I'd like to recommend is that this be, if it is going to be continued to be discussed, that it be removed from the Criminal Justice Committee to have it legitimized in another committee, to take away the word criminal situation out of that committee, and to the board take recommendations on which committee, if the board so wishes, to continue the discussion on marijuana, medical marijuana, whether or not it's a dispensary ordinance or maybe the forthcoming fee proposal, etc. Which committee would be best suited? Health and Human Services, which deals with the Health and Human Services Agency, Public Health, very appropriate, Social Services, very appropriate. There's some other ones in there, or Public Resources, Agriculture, Air Quality Management, Farm Advisor, and more importantly, Building and Planning Services. So which committee would, which committee from the board's level, and I'll take some comments from the council in that regards, in an effort to remove this stigma of criminal activity, move it to maybe a more appropriate other committee.
And then there's general government.
And then there's general government. And legislation certainly falls under that one. We just spoke about that at the state level, that we're trying to put together contacts for state legislation for legalization, etc. Supervisor Colfax.
I would put it in no committee at this time. I see no need for it. And I feel that if this board at this time says no need for further action, I would say we need to get on with a lot of other projects here without having to spend time in committee until such time as there's a clear need for moving forward. Just again, in terms of not having to spend our Tuesday afternoons doing a marijuana show, I think it's important that we not take on responsibilities that will not take us anywhere. We have to have a clear idea as to why it would be in committee. And at this point, there may be some disagreements among us, but I feel here that it's nothing compelling enough to put it into a particular committee.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Pinches.
I concur with that for the simple reason I said earlier. I don't see where we have a problem with the medical marijuana dispensaries in this county. And I don't see, even if the number of existing medical marijuana dispensaries were tripled, I don't perceive that to be a problem. With the problems associated with the big M word, marijuana, it's the dispensaries are not even on the list of problems. There's no, quite the contrary. When Laytonville, before Laytonville had a dispensary, there's been several, all the way from murders on down to incidents of problems. With the medical marijuana dispensary on the main highway in Laytonville, it seemed to alleviate a lot of that back door, back room, back road problem. So quite the contrary. I think it solved a lot of problems. So let them people, if people want to go in that business and call them whatever they want to call them, let them apply for the business license, pay the state sales tax on them, and let them move forward. But I don't just see, maybe the future time, if there's a problem, we can discuss it again. All this background work that's been done, it's not going to go away. We've got it. We can always revive it. But if it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Thank you, Supervisor. I respectfully disagree, and in my short stature, would consider that as keeping the head stuck in the sand. So I do appreciate your comments of the work we've done, but I do receive a kick in the ass for the work that has taken place, and so it was done very respectfully, and I appreciate that. Supervisor Delbar.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I too would like to thank Supervisor Pinchas for his recognition, and you're right, we have caught hell. In fact, we even caught some today.
Yeah.
But, medical marijuana, as we've said many times, it's allowed by law, and everything we've done is an attempt to try to keep that ability there for folks who need it. The bottom line is the dispensaries are illegal. They're not provided for in 215, they're not provided for in 420. They are illegal. And when you talked about a bar and the regulations there, try opening a bar in this county. Not necessarily our regulations, but the state regulations. It's dang near impossible. If you can find a license that's for sale, because those are regulated, and the background checks and everything else, it's not an easy task to do, whether it's beer and wine or full-blown alcohol. And in fact, look what we have in place for tobacco retailers. I mean, the county regulate that. The problem we have is that right now there are no regulations, there are no controls on dispensaries, none, zero, zilch. And we're not talking about tennis shoes and toothpaste. We're talking about a controlled substance. Big difference. If we were trying to regulate folks trying to sell toothpaste and tennis shoes, I'd agree with you. But it's a controlled substance. Whether you agree with that it should be a controlled substance is irrelevant. We have no say whatsoever if someone wanted to come into this county and open a dispensary right next to a school with 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operations, being managed by those with criminal backgrounds, with absolutely no security, and selling to minors. We couldn't stop it. We have nothing in place to stop that. The only option is for the feds to come in here and bust them. That's it. We have no other regulations here to stop that. So we don't have a problem now, you're right. But we could very well have one in the future. And the responsible, proactive route for this governing body to take is to set in place some rules that everybody should abide by when they come in and establish their facility. Not to wait till there's a problem, because once there's a problem, we're going to have one heck of a time trying to regulate it after the fact. Now, if there's no desire by 3 members of this board to take action, then so be it. But I don't obviously concur with that position. And if you're going to be looking at a committee to work on this some more, find one of the 2 that I'm not on. Because after well over a year's worth of work that we've put into this, many, many meetings, and all the hell that we've all caught, there are other issues that need my attention, and this isn't, I'm not going to spend any more time on something that's going to come up here and fail. That's not where I want